What's a common rule that you break regularly because you fundamentally disagree with it? If I'm working at some sort of establishment that throws food away, even though it's clearly still edible, I'm taking that shit. Ugh, yes, my old boss told me that if I took home leftovers it was theft. They were paying minimum wage and making me work split shifts, 6 to 12 for breakfast then 6 to 12 for dinner. So I had neither the money nor time to feed myself well, and taking home an ice cream tub of beef stew made a huge difference to my life while hurting precisely nobody. I worked in a grocery store deli and this one manager would always make closing shift throw away whole cooked rotisserie chickens. We were supposed to make X amount for the last bake, but we always tried to make fewer because they never got bought that late. But she made us cook too many, and then throw them away when they inevitably wouldn't sell at 9 o'clock at night. So me and the other closing shift person would slap a free sticker on them and find people to give them away to in the store on the down low when she was in the office. We also weren't allowed to bring our purses into the deli area, so I wrapped up a hot rotisserie chicken in my apron and strolled out the door with it. I made min wage as well and times were tough, but on several occasions I ate well and felt good that it wasn't going to waste. Lol, fuck them. When I worked at a bakery, we threw out 4 to 6 garbage bags of perfectly good food at the end of the day and we were technically not allowed to take any home. Didn't stop literally every employee from bringing home as much bread, pastries, sandwiches as they liked. Employers should be encouraging their staff to take home food that would be wasted otherwise. How do they not feel guilty about the fuck ton of food waste produced by their businesses? The thinking is that by allowing the people who prepare food in advance to take home the leftovers, they are encouraging the over-preparation of food for the purpose of creating leftovers. This would be an extremely easy thing to catch in daily inventory, but it's just way easier to ban the practice and not have to worry about it. Sure, it produces massive resentment among your staff who will absolutely find every single hole in your system, as well as just flagrantly violating your policies anyways, but why help your staff when you can have them despise you instead? This used to shit me when I was working at Macca's. They'd be like, write it up in the waste register and throw it away. We were all like, but why? If someone ordered a latte with full cream milk, then get to them cave window and say, oh, I mean skim milk, before you've even handed them that coffee. And the company is writing off the loss. Why can't we drink that coffee? They said it was theft as well, but wasting food in my opinion is worse than writing it off and letting your overworked and underpaid employees have it. I fucking hate this shit. Like, just send me all the food, I'll make sure it's eaten. Such a goddamn waste. Wasteful ass grocery stores literally letting people starve to keep their prices high. Good food is still good food. If you throw away good food, you are being wasteful, no ifs, ands, or buts. The assistant manager always wants you to serve old fries at the end of the night. No. Once they go to the back office the last hour of their shift to count money and do computer things, I'm going to let you know it's late and has been slow. But just for you I'm cooking your fries fresh, it will be about 3 more minutes. I don't serve old, cold food. I get that you break down the fry station because it has to be cleaned. But placing a tray of fries on the sandwich warmer isn't going to maintain taste and flavor. The fryer still works. On my shift you can trust I will get you fresh fries at 11:45 p.m. Write me up. Ejuf. Ain't nobody got time for cold fries. Doing the Lord's work. Y'all the real MVP. Ladies and gents, a true G-lol. Seriously though, MVP. Not all heroes wear capes. I wish they let us wear hairnets, too. These managers at my McDonald's just don't get it. I'll never make assistant manager. You can't put fries in the bag and sit it on the counter while waiting 5 minutes for a Filet-O-Fish. Fries go in last, Connie. It's a constant battle with managers to get them to not serve old cold food. If something is no longer being published, I don't have qualms about copyright infringement. Likewise, if previously free content is now paywalled, I'm going to find it for free. Also, if something used to be a one-time purchase but is now a subscription, looking at you, Adobe. Microsoft Office also. Ugh, yes. I think I still have an old copy of Photoshop 6 on disk in my attic somewhere, along with Windows XP and 98. and the obligatory plastic bin full of random cables and adapters. I am 100% with you on this, and it's the reason newspapers failed in the digital age, because they gave it away for free for so long people became accustomed to it. Had newspapers thought ahead, they would have never offered their content for free. They would have given it to subscribers of the paper, and they would have offered lower cost subscriptions for non-subscribers. It would have been easy too. Instead of paying $5 a week for delivery, pay $3 a week and have full access to the digital version on your computer, and eventually phone and tablet. It would have worked. Nobody would have batted an eye. It would have made sense to people. But nope. They just straight up offered their shit for free for years and wondered why they were losing money, and nobody wants to pay for their content. Edit, for clarity. I didn't say newspapers were free, I said they gave their content away for free. Meaning they put the paper online for free. Most did this for years before finally putting up paywalls. That's the point I'm making. They gave it away for free online for years. The newspaper industry really thought the internet was a fad. I remember back in the late 90s, my stepmother, who was the VP of advertising at a newspaper called Newsday, asked me about the internet. I told her it would be the death knell for print media. She laughed and said the internet wasn't that popular and that it would fade into the sunset at some point with little fanfare. The online platforms were treated like a joke. The red-headed stepchild, draining resources but not really sustaining any true revenue on its own legs. Print saw it as a form of cannibalism. There was already so much internal competition for ad revenue that money became diluted into special sections: Sunday magazines, inserts, direct mail, sponsorship packages. It was yet another thread of ad revenue being seen as depleted and diluted. Many said print needed to be much more supportive of online. Online said it would be a giant one day, just you wait and see. No one believed them. Quick reminder that Disney removed a ton of underperforming content from D+ last May, including many originals that can't be found anywhere else legally. 4 Disney original shows that I was watching got pulled. What do I do now, Disney? You're forcing people's hand here. Disney, how we don't care. For a short period, Netflix and Hulu got you most everything you could want. Seinfeld, ISIP, The Office. It was great and reasonably priced. There was a period where I just stopped pirating things. Then the pissing contest started and the greed, and yo-ho, it's back to the seas for me. I miss early 10s Netflix. They had such a stellar selection then. Yeah, I'm about to bust out my shitty old laptop to start pirating shit again. It's getting ridiculous to pay for 4 to 5 streaming services and still not have a bunch of shows and films I want to see. Depends on the level of convenience you want, and if you're willing to pay a little bit of money for some of that convenience. Free option: download and install BitTorrent. uTorrent is no longer to be trusted. Then, go to a website like 1337X and use the search bar to find whatever media you're looking for. Download the torrent file and run it, or instead click the magnet link. And it will open the torrent automatically inside Kbit and begin downloading. Once finished, you can pause the torrent so it doesn't sit there uploading the file to others, if you have a data cap, say, or else leave them on so others can download that same media from you. Paying it forward, as it were. Side note, I should give you fair warning that your country of residence may have differing laws regarding the legality of torrenting and what the corporations from whom you are infringing can do to you. Check for yourself and decide if it's necessary to download and run a VPN client anytime you download torrents. This VPN will more or less scramble the details of where you're accessing the internet from, thus shielding yourself from potential lawsuits from copyright holders. I don't bother with a VPN because in my home country the most that can happen to you is a sternly written letter from the rights holder to you ISP. Paid option, also the one I use most often. I have purchased a yearly subscription to Giganews, a Usenet server that users upload to in a way very similar to torrents, but the way the files are processed and downloaded makes them more or less unidentifiable to your ISP, and by extension copyright holders. I use my GigaNews subscription on a website called NSPlanet.net to access content hosted there. Downloading the files works much the same way as torrenting, except that the file is downloaded in dozens or hundreds of small packages that do nothing alone but can be reassembled into the full file. To accomplish this, an NZB compiler program needs to be used. I personally use SABNSP. So in sum total, I go to NSPlanet, download a file, SABNSP automatically reassembles the files once the download is complete, and then whatever media I clicked in is deposited into my downloads folder. The benefits of the paid service are that you tend to get access to a much broader scope of content that is likelier to have obscure, old, or harder to find content. And SABNSP tends to max out my bandwidth, while torrenting does not. Hope this helps somewhat. I recognize that it's a whole hell of a lot of info at once, so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Happy sailing. Hell yes. Abandonware is fair game and should be in the public domain. Likewise, if something is not available in my region or is priced absurdly, I still don't understand why the whole region thing is a thing. It's also to encourage viewership. NFL Sunday Ticket lets to watch all the NFL football games. It's 1/4 the price if you have a VPN and set it to German or UK servers, and you get bonus content. The NFL isn't popular there, so it's cheap, so they get views. However, they know Americans will pay $120 plus for their football. Lol, I am the same way. If I know I own the game but can't find the disc and it's no longer published, it's free game. I clean the patient's bedside table first and foremost instead of emptying the trash first, as we're ordered to do. They told me to do that while I was a custodian at a school. Empty the trash first. Why? I gotta dust, then sweep. The stuff I sweep up needs to go somewhere. Why not this handy dandy trash can I haven't changed yet? What killed me more than anything is we were ordered to change trash bags even if they were empty. Because you never know if someone spit in it. It's unsanitary. Are they sticking their heads in the bag and licking the bottom? Is somebody eating lunch out of this can? Begone with that nonsense, that's just wasting plastic. Better than my old boss who called me out for removing the bag, free plastic shopping bag, from the kitchen tidy bin they used for tampons in the ladies' toilet. Apparently they were too expensive to just throw away. I had to go digging around and pull out the contents and leave the bag. Some of said contents were stuck on pretty good too. Pirating something you've paid for previously. I didn't just buy the CD or DVD, I bought the right to install and view or use that material. Owning a physical copy of an intellectual property, music, video game, film, implies a perpetual right to viewership and use. Paying wildly overpriced medical bills? For a decade now, I've just refused to pay, let them go to collections, and dispute them for ages until they finally give up. At worst, I make the collection agency waste money on the pursuit, then settle for pennies. I bring my own snack into the movie theater. Anyone know what their spaghetti policy is? In the mid-90s, when dollar theaters were everywhere, my buddy and I would get high and go to the movies all the time. We always brought our own snacks. One day I forgot to hide the Twizzlers and chips, walked up to the counter to buy a soda and nobody said anything. So we started upping the game each time. A Subway sub, a bag of McDonald's. The final test was we walked in with an actual bucket of KFC and a 2-liter of soda. It was the dollar theater, they didn't care. Usher demands a piece of chicken as tribute. I tried to think why Usher would need a piece of chicken. Then I realized you most likely meant movie usher. As someone who works in a theater, I just ask that people please not make a giant mess with whatever food they brought in. Some theaters have this policy and managers have fired employees over not stopping or catching people sneaking stuff in. You snuck it in, sneak that trash right back out. Or at least put it in the garbage can well hidden. Last time I went to the movies, the first time in years since having kids, or tried to sneak some snacks in for the kids, and a woman walked in with a lunchbox cooler, just walked right in, while my wife and I had food stashed all over our bodies. Is this a thing now? Movie theater employees are not paid enough to give a shit. Most of them don't care. I don't even hide the snacks I bring anymore. If any game is no longer being sold by the original maker, it's okay to pirate it. Getting around paywalls. I understand financially supporting journalism, but I can't subscribe to everything. Especially when you want to read one article and they want you to pay for a month of editions. Or a scientific paper. Annual subscription for $500+ or pay $80+ for limited time access. For publicly funded research. A lot of them charge the authors too. It's a racket invented by the deeply honest businessman Robert Maxwell. Usually, if you email the authors directly, I will send you the paper for free. If it's not $1 for 6 months, I'm not interested. I subscribe to the Law Times for that low price. At the end of the subscription, they offer it for $1 a week. I just wait until the 6 months for $1 offer comes back. Usually, it takes about a month to circle back around. I just don't understand why microtransactions for individual stories aren't a thing. No, I'm not gonna subscribe to your whole damn thing just so I can read one article, but I might pay some number of cents for it. Won't let me do that? Okay, then I'm using print-friendly or 12-foot ladder to read it for free. Especially when it's from a publication that you'd rather not support, but you need to reference a particular article. And then to unsubscribe you have to call and argue with a human. I'm looking at you, WSJ. After the third sneeze I stop saying bless you. Yeah, at that point they're clearly possessed by the devil and no amount of me blessing them will help. They need a priest at that point. At that point they get an "Are you alright?" from me. I share my Netflix password. Netflix blocked access to my daughter who no longer lives with me. I paid for 2 devices. It should matter where those devices are. Why they couldn't just let us nominate another user is beyond me. Netflix assumed we'd all just get our own subscriptions, but now instead, they've lost 2 subscribers, which I get. It probably won't hurt Netflix at all. Unfortunately, Netflix has made a fortune due to this. They went from generous to stingy. They should have given the option to allow every paying subscription to allow one other login under their name. I get it that some people were sharing their password with 10+ people that didn't reside in the subscriber's house, but now it's not even 1. When mine was locked out because my family and I shared an account, we canceled it and spent $5 on a pirate website that has all their content and everything else. I don't feel bad. If it's a single restroom, then I won't care which gender it is. I die on this hill at work. I work in surgery and there are 2 individual toilets, bathrooms, each with their own locking door and sink. In my role in surgery, if I get a bathroom break, it's like 2 minutes for the entire procedure. There is always someone in the men's toilet, so I just use the women's toilet right next to it, otherwise I'd miss my chance and have to wait 7 hours to piss. I've had like 2 people in a year ask me not to. I kinda quickly explained the situation and asked them why it bothered them. One person talked in circles while the other said they didn't want men seeing or messing with the feminine hygiene products. I suppose I understand that, but only adults use these toilets, and we work in healthcare where we see people in their most vulnerable state. I don't give a damn about an unused tampon. They act like we are gonna grab tampons and put them in our mouth like walrus tusk and posture like one. Make a big ol' scene. Edit, spelling. Apparently I had a stroke typing this. Haha, that just reminded me, during COVID there were huge shortages of random shit like gauze pads. My job is to stimulate people's brains during surgery to make sure the pathways are intact, and naturally they bite down. We used to make bite blocks with gauze pads, but since those were in such shortage we started using leftover supply of tampons. They looked more like a warthog than a walrus, though. This has to be the biggest annoyance to me. Any single occupancy bathroom is unisex. They will pry the Oxford comma from my cold dead hands. I don't think it's against any rules, just optional. That said, I believe it's mandatory and I judge anyone who omits it. Why do they want to remove the comma that adds clarity? Why do they want to live in uncertainty about how nouns are grouped? I can't understand it. Oxford forever. This. Had a dispute with my manager over a difference of opinions on how to read a specific article due to the lack of an Oxford comma. I read it as if it had an invisible comma. She wanted to read it as if it didn't because it meant not paying me for special leave. Even HR and the union had to discuss it and get back to us on the correct meaning. In the end I was correct and got access to the paid leave I deserved. If they just added a GD Oxford comma, none of it would have even needed discussing. I only hate three things in this world: people who are intolerant of other people's cultures, the Dutch, and those who don't like the Oxford comma. Stole a pet frog that was severely neglected. Don't give a rat's ass about stealing if they don't care about mistreating an animal. 100% agree. Once liberated and rehoused a very abused dog in my neighborhood that was left outside 24/7, doomed to sleep in its own shit, and emaciated. Same. Except mine was a Malinois puppy that was being beaten by a neighbor. Oops, gate opened and he ran away. Don't talk about your pay at work or at all. No, because finances are incredibly important and I sure as fuck would want to know what a job pays. This is my life we're talking about. Money makes it good. It's actually super illegal for your employer to prevent you from discussing your salary with fellow coworkers. You can and should be talking about it. I clean my ears with tips. Ears are like buttholes. You're not supposed to stick anything in them, but it feels so good when you do. I do this too. As long as you twist it during insertion it doesn't pack anything down in there, and if you don't stick it any deeper than where the cotton meets the stick you won't hurt your eardrum. I've been doing this for all of my 42 years, and will continue doing so as long as I walk this earth. Crossing the street in the middle is fine when there are no cars. Also, it's okay to go diagonally at crosswalks for the same reason. Is this an American thing? Curious. In the UK you can cross wherever you like. Right now I pirate guilt-free because streaming services suck more and you never know when some asshole game service is going to delete a game you bought tomorrow. And streaming services having ads while paying for them. Fuckers. Pirating is moral because they're telling us more and more that we don't own the things we're paying for. I think Netflix and other streaming services should have the same contents worldwide. We live in the age of internet, borders don't matter. If I want to watch something that's not on my version of Netflix, I'll find it online at a pirate website. Most of the time they don't even give me the option to watch it legally because it's just not on any service in my country. In that case it's on them. They only have themselves to blame. FDR, this is a hill I'm willing to die on. Edda, I know this isn't Netflix's fault. It's the people that own the movies and series etc. They won't get royalties when I watch it illegally, but if I can't watch it in a legal way, they only have themselves to blame. I never understood that saying. Labor Day is usually seen as the day that marks the end of summer season, and white was very much considered a summer-only fashion in the 1920s as it was lighter and cooler. To wear white after Labor Day thus seems like you're ignorant of the season fashion change, thus a faux pas. Fun fact, white was not a commonly worn color, except as leisure wear for the rich, since poor people work and need dark fabrics to cover dirtiness. So this was not followed by most regular people. It's also why white fabrics are saved for important occasions. I think I heard once it was for high society ladies back in the Gilded Age of grand balls, garden parties in the Hamptons type settling. In other words, if you don't know that weird utensil by your plate, it doesn't matter. Nice try, Fed boy, you'll never catch me. I'll keep trying. Elbows on the table. Why? Unless someone's in another person's space or their elbows are by the food, it's such a silly rule. What's wrong with setting my arm on the table? Polite conversation topics. I want to talk about death, sex, and money. It's cool to talk about money, but maybe get to know someone before you bring up death, sex. Sodomy laws. If my wife wants it in her ass, she gets it in her ass. Whatever I do with a consenting adult in the sanctity of my own home is between me and them. If the government wants to stick their nose in my bedroom, they better start paying me for the show they're seeing. The 5-second rule for dropped food. If you land on free parking, I grew up playing where you win all the money in the middle. Don't care about the real rules. Gravity. Sometimes it's just not working for me. Lately, I don't feel like I'm being pulled down so much as that I'm being pushed. Phoebes. Jaywalking. It's fine in neighborhoods with low traffic. I don't break the rule law, but I think it's ultimately idiotic and causes more accidents than it ever hoped to prevent. I drive a school bus, and in NY we are mandated to stop at every railroad crossing whether it has gates and lights or not. It stems from an incident from 50 years ago where a driver ran a stop sign at a line that was hardly ever used. 50 years later, at least where I live, every crossing has gates and lights to prevent drivers from crossing, and I've never heard of one incident where someone was struck by a train because the gates didn't work. And today we have people who text while driving and are not looking where they are going. At least once a month our yard has an incident where a bus is rear-ended at a RS crossing. People are hurt, and thousands of dollars in damage are incurred. If it is so important to stop at RS crossings, why don't parents do so in their private cars? There, I got that off my chest.